Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. So this is definitely my most favourite time of the year, the CrossFit Open. And whether you're an elite athlete shooting for regionals or if you're a bit like myself and you're just in the Open for a little bit of fun, there's definitely opportunity to have a look at your nutrition strategy going forward. Online, there's definitely a lot of dialogue around the CrossFit Open at this time of the year, in between Castro's cryptic Instagram posts or even some of the top-end CrossFit coaches giving their tips and strategies going forward on how best to break down the workout. So I thought I'd put in my 2 bobs worth with 5 of my top CrossFit Open nutrition tips. Tip number 1, I think it's really important that you determine what type of athlete you actually are, because knowing what your strategy is going into the Open depends on how your nutrition is going to play out. So if you are a regionals athlete or a games athlete, your nutrition strategy is going to be completely different to mine. I'm in the Open for just a little bit of fun and to compare myself to see how I've improved over the last 12 months. So I'm not going to have such a structured intake, and also my calorie intake is probably going to look completely different to somebody such as Cara Webb. Point number 2, don't do anything different. So my favourite question at this time of the year is, everybody asks me, Jay, what's your top tip? What can I do that's going to be different? What can improve my time or increase my reps? And there really isn't a quick fix, so don't go looking for it at this time of the year. I think the biggest thing that I tell my athletes is, you've been training for the last 12 months with a structure and with a plan. So don't change things up. Some of my favourite stories are, I've seen athletes trying beetroot juice, bicarb soda. I even had one athlete take 2 scoops of pre-workout because they saw another athlete do that and they got a better score. So needless to say, they had heart palpitations and didn't end up finishing their Open workout. So definitely be mindful of not changing anything. In competition, you run too much of a risk of messing up with your score if you dabble in different spaces of nutrition. So stick to your game plan. Tip number 3, food is not a reward. So all food's neutral and we really need to be mindful of how we approach our food. And so many athletes come to me and they say after 18.1 or 18.2, oh, I worked so hard, I'm going to go and eat a burger, or I'm going to have a cheat week this weekend. You know what? It was just a 12-minute workout, well, 18.2 was, and yeah, you may have worked hard, but reward yourself in other ways and reward your performance and great results by going for a swim, taking the dog for a walk, relaxing, reading a book. You don't have to use food as a reward. Tip number 4, this is the fun part. This is where hopefully you take something away that is really going to change the way that you feel and also your performance during this Open season. So avoid high fat and high fibre foods before competing. So there's nothing worse than competing on an empty stomach, except for competing on a really full and heavy stomach. So fat and fibre slow down your digestion rate and can make food sit in that stomach. So that's a really heavy and unsettling feeling, especially when you're doing burpees and thrusters. So try and aim for some high carb foods about an hour out from your competition. So for me, I love to eat a jam sandwich an hour beforehand and really only have fluids after. And tip number 5, my last point, make sure that you hydrate properly. So especially here in Australia, it's really hot at the moment. I mean, it's 28 degrees today and I'm boiling, but going into the Open, you need to make sure that you are well hydrated beforehand. So, of course, that means that having a pea straw-like pee is exactly what you want, and making sure that you hydrate properly afterwards. So we do continue to lose sweat after our exertion. So why would hydration be important? Not being hydrated well enough does actually increase your perception of how hard the workout is. So if I'm feeling hydrated, those thrusters aren't going to feel as hard as they do if I didn't drink enough leading into it. So those are my top 5 pointers, especially for some of my most commonly asked questions. And don't be afraid to put any questions below, guys, or anything else that you'd like to see answered. All right, and best of luck for your open season.